Hi everybody! For this Halloween I thought of making this project. I think it's fun for both you and your children, or maybe just for you, like I will do. And this pumpkin, I found this on Pixabay. This is actually a ceramic pumpkin. It's not a real one. It doesn't matter anyway. So because I've traced this with the light table, I won't need another copy of this. So I have this one clean, and I am doing this project on paper, in art watercolor paper for watercolor, and it is 230 grams. So it is cold pressed, but it's almost has no grain. It has a very fine grain, so I believe it won't be a problem. Also, don't forget, like always, if you are burning on paper, some of the heat will go through the paper on the darker areas, so I have this piece of wood so that I don't burn my table. You can use some cardboard or something that will hold the heat that will go through the paper. So don't forget that, or you will burn your table. This is very important, this safety issue. Don't forget it. I hope you like the project, and I hope you like the final result. So let's start. So we have our pumpkin all done with the pyrography part. As you can see, I didn't care much about boundaries because we are going to trim all these parts, so there's no problem if you cross the boundaries and if it bleeds outside, because this won't be here anyway, neither will the pencil marks. This stripe here is for us to be able to glue these together at the edges. So I finished the paragraph part and added this fixative so that there is just kind of to hold everything together, the pyrography part. I usually don't use anything, but because I went so dark in so many areas, this is what I was talking about. As you can see, it handles the heat until a certain degree. After that, it bleeds outside the paper. So if you don't have anything under the paper, you will burn the table or the place where you are doing your work. With paper, you have to be careful because of this. It will handle until a certain degree. When you cross that, it will bleed through the paper. So I have used the fixative to hold everything together, and I thought of adding some beautiful orange here, since this is a watercolor paper. Even this waviness, it will look good once you cut the rest. You can even see the temperature of your tip outside the pumpkin, because this will all go away. So if it bleeds, if this is really a very nice project regarding that. So this is another part that you can do with your children, that is to put some orange in the pumpkin. So if you are doing this with the kids, I wouldn't add this layer of water. I would just lay down the color and that's it. Once again, don't worry too much if it bleeds outside, if it doesn't, because this will not stay here, so do it like freehand. That's why it is also great for the kids. You don't have to worry, they can play with this. If the color goes outside the boundaries, there's no problem. So this is supposed to be fun. It's not one of those projects where you make what we call mistakes and then we stay sad because we made that mistake. No, this is supposed to be fun, something to do by yourself or with your kids or with your cats and dogs, like I am doing. And alright, let's start with this one. It has this layer of water and I am starting to pick up some color. It will look better if it's not even also, so just drip a little bit here, a little bit there, and don't worry. if it's not even, or just lay a little bit of color in it. So put as much as you like. And if you want to make this, let's say, a project like we usually do, with everything in place, and you can leave some areas like the very highlights of the pumpkin without any color, so that it makes more volume. So you can also add more color in the darker areas. You will still have the pyrography work, and it will give it more volume. Okay. I believe this will look good when you place the light inside the pumpkin. Let's see. When you see the video, I will already have the results. By this time I don't, but I'm hoping it will all works great. So, okay, this one is done, and I will do the same with this one. Again, don't worry about the lines, the boundaries. That is not very important here. Just try not to go over the top. It's the only thing I recommend. The rest is everything alright. I wanted to make this a very freehand project. Put as much as you like, wherever you like the most. I'm using watercolor just because we can still see the pyrography work, and for me that's important, because if you use oil painting or something thicker, you may cover everything, and I usually don't really like that. So there was no point on doing the pyrography, so I always try to keep that work safe. Also, I have used temperatures between 4 and 6 for this project. on my machine. The paper sometimes, it is usually harder to burn than some types of wood, some soft wood. And with wood we have the carbon that sticks to the tip. With paper you don't see that, but we also have some chemics sticking to the tip. If you have any breathing issues, you should also use a mask. Whether it's paper or wood, you should use a mask. I know it's not very comfortable, but better safe than sorrow. Just a little bit more here. Yes, you can use your fingers. I always do that when I'm working with watercolor. I don't know really why, but I do that. Well, alright, they have a little bit of color, and before we proceed, they must dry, and then apply another layer of fixative. This one is a universal one, so you can use it with pencil, with pastel, with watercolor, so it will work either way. I will let our pumpkin dry so that we can take all the excess out. And that's another step you can do with the kids, at least the outside, I believe. The inside I will do with an X-Acto knife, so I will not advise you to put that in your children's hands. So let's just wait a little bit and I'll be back. So everything is dry, both the watercolor and the fixative, and we can begin another fun part that you can do with your kids or not, at least the outside. That is, take the excess paper out. I really like these big scissors, I don't really know why, but it kind of works for me, so even with small sized papers I use this one. I am placing a cutting board and I am moving to the X-Acto knife. This part, at least I am only able to do this with the X-Acto knife, so this is not good for the children. Yeah, you'll have to do it yourself. And it's a more precision step, so this is your fun time while the kids eat the cookies. Alright, so we're all done with the pumpkin. We don't need this anymore. I believe you can see better now. So we have our pumpkin, and we still need to glue both sides together. So just bend this part first. And now I will use contact glue that I believe works best with higher temperature. Don't place too much because it will bleed out of the area and it will be a mess. So now the strength you use to hold these two together, it's exactly what will keep them together. So you should hold these and so there you have it, the pumpkin lantern. And now let's see how it will work with a light inside of it. You can, this is paper, so you can always reshape it and I will get something to test it. So my first idea was really to find something big enough to fit inside the pumpkin and a candle. So with a little bit of water it's safer because this is aluminium and the heat will spread to the aluminium and you will probably burn your table. So place just a little bit of water. It won't sink the candle, so it's alright. And then the pumpkin around it, it fits perfectly. And let's see how it works at night. Now, my second idea is a real lamp where you can place the pumpkin and see how it works. I think it's secure enough. Maybe a smaller one. Either way, I will see how this works.